Welcome back. We're coming to you from the past.
Yeah. If you listened to the last episode, you know that I seriously messed up and I started my notes for this episode that we're currently recording before I needed to and didn't do the notes for the last episode. So anyway, we're just recording out of order and it is what it is and we're going to roll with it. It's going to be great.
I got my pop culture stuff and some facts, but I don't have any notes on the episode. So if we get to that point, I'll just be, you're all right. We're on the episode Cinnamon's Wake, or as I like to call it, Cat Funerals.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to lie to you. We might have to do How I Met Your Mother, Gilmore Girls, because...
100% down with that. I just rewatched it.
I also just rewatched it, and I am so obsessed with that show. Like, it's like...
Listen, a lot of people don't like How I Met Your Mother, and I don't get it.
A lot of people don't like How I Met Your Mother, and what I like to do is I like to explain to them...
Barney's a problematic character. It's part of the story.
Yeah, like, okay.
What I like about How I Met Your Mother is, Barney's a super problematic character, and everyone acknowledges it. Like,
yeah. Barney is a problem. Like that is a problem. Coercing people into bed by lying is bad. Like, let's just, leave that on the table. Yeah, no. How I Met Your Mother is a great show. Also, let me just say, like, for the people, Jason Segel, I think, is one of my favorite humans that has ever acted. I love him so much. Like, I want only good things for him.
And I love Allison Hannigan. She's a gem.
She's great.
I don't know if you listened to Brian Baumgartner's podcast.
I did hear the one that she was on there.
That she was on. She's just lovely. Like, I really like her.
Jake said that he sat her for some premiere for something, and because he used to work at El Cap and Disney and all that stuff. But anyway, so he sat her when she was like super pregnant. She was super nice.
Not to get off on a How I Met Your Mother tangent, but Ben thinks this is one of my like funniest habits. Every time I see a pregnant woman, because there's like, no matter how hard the show is to hide it, you can see when someone's pregnant in their face.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite games is like, she's obviously pregnant here. Watch how they try to hide it.
Yeah.
And Ben thinks it's hilarious. And I love How I Met Your Mother is so obvious about it. Like, they don't even try to hide it.
Well, my absolute favorite way that she goes on maternity leave is when Barney tells her that joke. And she's like, I need to not see you for a while. And then she's like, they keep like bringing it up. And they're like, I don't know. She's still really mad about that joke that you made. I don't think she's going to go back for a while.
Another, my husband thinks I'm the most cringy person alive story. Every time we watch that episode, I tell him that joke, like the real joke.
The real joke?
Like,
yeah.
I know.
I know it.
You told me before.
I did have to Google it this last time. Because I was like, well, what's the answer? It was on Reddit. Yeah. I found the Reddit thread.
I can't peanut butter my...
Yes. My wee in your talking mechanism.
I've heard it a different way.
Interesting.
In a different place.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway. Anywho, way to say that.
No, there's no clever way to say that. We are on season 1, episode 5, Cinnamon's Wake or Cat Funeral.
Cat Funeral.
It all comes back around. So the synopsis is Lorelai admits that she has feelings for someone. Meanwhile, Rory has a budding relationship of her own that is moving forward. Bow, chicka, wow, wow.
That's a synopsis?
Yes, it's the end. Bow, chicka, wow, wow. That reminds me of that episode of Friends. You know, like the one where they turn on the TV, Chandler and Joey turn on the TV, and there's porn on the TV, and they're like, free porn! Yeah. And so, like, they tell everybody not to turn the TV off, right? Like, the whole episode. And then Rachel's like, what is that song? It's stuck in my head. Wow, 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 wow. She realized, she's like, it's from the boys moment. Yeah. Very 90s. Very, very 90s.
It's one of those, like, unrelatable moments now where, like, if you showed, like, a 20-year-old that show, they'd be like, I don't get it. All porn is free.
What do you mean? People pay for that? Just open my phone and it's there.
It is right there. God. Do you want me to do my pop culture stuff?
Yeah, if you have any.
I'm sorry, was that
let
the
me
whole
hear it.
synopsis?
No,
I
that's
interrupted.
the entire synopsis. Yes.
All right,
The
here we go.
relationships are budding.
I made these notes a long time ago and haven't looked at them, and I'm gonna try to speed run them now. Let's see how this goes. We have Rancid, the Bengals, Jimmy Van Housen, Grant Lee Buffalo, Jean-Paul
You're doing so good. You're being so brave.
Jean-Paul.
Yay.
Yay. I only couldn't pronounce one of those words.
Oh, you did great. All right. Are we ready?
Okay. And do you want me to do some facts? Or will you stop trying to step on my facts?
I'm so sorry.
Listen, you've got the whole show.
Like I have 30 seconds in the beginning to talk, and you get the rest of the time.
I have like a lot of facts this time.
Let's hear it. I will sit back and try not to cough from my pneumonia.
So this is Sean Gunn's third appearance on the show, but this is his first appearance identifying him by name as Kirk. Finally, we get Kirk. In later episodes, Kirk says that he's lived in Stars Hollow his whole life, but in this episode, he doesn't know who Miss Patty is, a staple in the town. Yeah, some inconsistencies mixed in with the facts. The song that Lane is dancing to in Rory's room is a song that she would later perform with Hep Alien. That mentions that Cinnamon was 260 in human years. First of all, she shouldn't have said cat years. Second of all, 260 in cat years is like 50 human years. No cat can live 50 years.
Yeah, that's insane. I think
somebody got really picky on IMDb.
It is very funny that they make Cinnamon like ancient because it's like
literally 50 years old.
Right, because it's like obviously like Babette's like distraught, you know, but it's like
she's had this cat for 50 years.
Yeah, like definitely part of the family at that point.
It does say in parentheses, it says, although you might argue that Cinnamon was a very special cat.
True, so true.
Lorelai mentions Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton in this episode, and Lauren Graham would later star alongside Billy Bob Thornton in Bad Santa.
I've never seen that.
I have. It's all right.
Mid.
It's a good, like, stupid watch. It's a real dumb, you know.
Well, as we've discussed in previous episode that was like maybe 15 minutes ago, I love a stupid watch.
It's
Chucky.
It's very Dumb and Dumber, American Pie, Super Bad, that kind of,
So Jake would probably like it too. He's a big American Pie fan.
Yeah. So he's an Allison Hannigan fan too.
He is. Yes. He was very starstruck when he sat her when she was very pregnant. Yeah.
And listen, okay, this may come out sounding wrong. I do not mean it as an insult. She's always been gorgeous. Pregnancy made Allison Hannigan 1,000 times more beautiful. I don't know what it was.
She was like glowing.
Her face shifted and her body changed, but in a fantastic way. Like after she had kids, she was even more beautiful. It was like that's crazy.
Maybe it was like she was coming into her true form. Like she was always meant to be a mother.
Yeah. Like I love that. Like most women, you're like after you have kids, you change and you like. Personally, you feel worse. You're like, my body changed. I don't feel like myself anymore. But she changed, and she looked even more beautiful after she had kids. I don't understand it, but good for her.
That's kind of sweet. I love that.
This is the first episode not to feature Alex Borstein as Drella. Boo.
Aww,
we miss Drella.
We love Drella.
And Kill Me Now, episode 3. Babette refers to Cinnamon as a male cat. In this episode, she says Cinnamon is female. More inconsistencies.
Yeah. I feel like Cinnamon gives female energy.
She does. Yeah, I agree. All I got. The rest I have is just like some inconsistencies and some it says like when Rory and Lane encounter Babette bringing Cinnamon home, there's a woman pushing a stroller behind Rory and Lane, and you can clearly see it as a toy baby and not a real baby in the stroller.
Oh my God.
That.
I love that. All right.
That's really it though. So yeah, get into that, and that's all my notes.
All right. So we open to a Friday night dinner conversation. Lorelai is asking where Richard is, and Emily says away on business. She responds, location's top secret, and Emily says Germany. which I've learned that something like this usually means the actor is working on another show or something during this episode.
To be fair, Ed Herman was always a guest star of this show.
Interesting.
Smart move by his management. That means he got paid more and only had to work when he wanted to.
Yeah,
he was never
very
under
interesting.
contract for the show.
Yes, they have him travel because I feel like they have him travel for work a lot. So
yeah,
it
so if
kind
you
of
watch
makes sense.
the credits, it always says and guest star Ed Herman. And
very
that's
smart.
just like contract, like entertainment business speak for they don't have him like on a permanent contract.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. So, maybe he was just off that day. Lorelai asks if Richard is insuring Nazis now, and Emily responds matter-of-factly, your father doesn't know any Nazis. I love how she doesn't like budge. She's like,
Again, I think we talked about this before, but I love Emily's responses to Lorelai's humor.
oh, yeah.
No
Just
reaction,
straight.
deadpan response.
Yeah. It's so great. It makes it so much more funny. She says she was just joking, and Emily responds, hard to tell. Emily then informs them that their cousin Claudia died, and Lorelai is saying she doesn't know who that is. Emily says she was your father's grandmother's sister's girl. So to you, that would make her, and Lorelai says, nothing. Emily says, regardless, the funeral is Thursday, and they should all go together. I do feel like our family has had moments like this where it's like, there's people where it's like, I should know who this is, but I don't.
Well, to be fair, our family is weirdly close to all of our extended family.
Yeah.
And there are times that people come up, I almost said adults come up to me like I'm not a full
You are a grown-up.
I am
unfortunately
in my 30s and I have 2 kids. Older people in our family will come up to me and start talking to me like I know them, and I for sure do not. And then later I'll be like, who is that? And he's like, oh, it's your grandpa's cousin's kids, nephew, like, all right.
I got nothing. Well, and what's crazy is like, I realized this around the holidays that like, you don't realize that like things don't just like happen. You have to like make them happen, if that makes sense. So it's like when I was a kid, I thought that just like, no matter what, you were always going to see, your great grandma and your grandpa and your cousins, and you're like, and then it's like when you become a grown up, you're like, oh no, we did that because like that's just like what our family did. Like not everybody does that. It's like that stuff just like stops happening, and you're like, oh, it's because like I have to do the thing, spend the money, go visit. Like, it doesn't just like happen.
It usually just happens to me, but that's just because I happen to live where a lot of our people.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I do live very far away, so I guess that's kind of on me.
Yeah,
but
become that cousin that everybody's like, I think they have another sibling, but
I don't really know who that is. She lives in California. I don't know. She's kind of weird. She has pink hair. I don't know. Lorelai says it's impossible to get away from the inn and that she has never met that woman. They argue for a minute, and then Emily says, so you're not going. Lorelai says, not this time, to which Emily responds, I don't think Claudia is planning to die a second time, which is super funny.
God, I love Emily's humor.
Yeah, it's great. It's pretty good. And then Emily says, wait, Rudolph Gottfried. Lorelai says, another cousin? And Emily goes, no, a Nazi we knew. I had forgotten. Lorelai says, you socialize with a known Nazi? That's heinous. And Emily says, no, dear, that was a joke. I love snarky Emily.
Listen, people hate on Emily so much. She is so fun.
She's so funny. Yeah, the fact that she was like, I'm going to pretend like we knew a Nazi. Old guy, great stories.
Yeah.
And
great stories. I love that line.
So good. So we go into the opening credits, right? And we come in, and we're now back at Rory and Lorelai's before work or school. And Lorelai's just watching TV, and Rory's coming out of her room while the stereo's playing.
Time to watch TV before work.
Listen. Okay, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. Because in my notes right here, it says, truly and forever, the most not relatable thing in sitcoms is how they're like hanging out in the morning before
they're
work.
Like eating breakfast at each other's houses, and they're like, I guess we should get to work sometime.
Or they're like at the coffee house, like hanging out for an hour. Like Friends it was real bad about it.
Friends did make a joke once about it. I don't remember who it was, but they were like, shouldn't we guys be at work? And they all checked their watches and they were like,
oh yeah. So so they're talking about how their bosses don't like them. And Joey's like, it's because you're hanging out here on a Wednesday at 11:30 instead of at work. And they're all like,
which is very self-aware and very funny.
That is very funny. But yeah, that's forever just like, nobody does that. No one ever is like, let me come over to your house before I go to work.
Even if you don't work until noon, you're still like, I'm going to just like tidy up at my house. I'm going to take a shower, get ready, whatever. Yeah, you don't go places for work and hang out.
No. Unless like you don't work until like 6 or 7 p.m. I feel like that's not a thing.
Lorelai manages an inn, and this is clearly before Rory is going to school.
Yeah, she has like, this is probably like, give or take, like 7 a.m.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
earlier.
Generous. It's probably earlier.
Well, when they were in a rush to get to school, it was 7:15. Right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So 7, maybe
between 6:30 and 7. Who's getting up that early to watch TV before work? No, you get up with enough time to get ready.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's crazy. Rory asks Lorelai, wait, shouldn't you be baking? And she replies, I don't know. Shouldn't you be knitting? Which is super funny.
Rory honestly love this whole exchange of Rory not trusting Lorelai to get baked goods to the bake sale.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
This is embarrassingly me and my daughter. Once, when my daughter was 4 or 5, my oldest, she said, and I quote, Mom told me something about school that I needed to remember. And she said, put this in your brain where you can see it.
Put this in your brain where you can see it is the best thing I've ever heard.
I so much. I still think that to myself sometimes. Sometimes when I need to I need to remember something, I'm like, put it in your brain where you can see it.
Put this in your brain where you can see it. Oh,
I have
a
visual of like Post-it notes in my brain.
In your brain. That's so good. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, that's Harper for you.
Put this in your brain where you can see it.
That was Harper at 4 or 5 at the most.
I love that. Rory says the Chilton bake sale is that day and they expect things to be homemade. Lorelai says she's got it covered. Lorelai says to hit the stereo because they're running late. And Rory says that's not me. Okay. Wait, before we get into this, let me just say, the very first time I saw this episode, I thought, Rory, are you dumb? Like, she's obviously going to have Suki make the bake sale stuff.
Yeah, fair.
Like, I knew immediately. Like,
yeah, why would Rory not know that?
Yeah, exactly. That should be like you should just assume that. So Rory says that the stereo is not her, and then they open Rory's door, and Lane is just like moshing away in Rory's room, throwing hands.
In Lorelai's words, skanking to rest.
Yeah. Lorelai says, where does your mom think you are? And Lane says, on a park bench contemplating the reunification of the two Koreas. Very funny. Also, let me just remind you, it's 6:30 a.m.
Yeah, what are you doing there?
Lane came over to Rory's house.
Has she been up since 4?
To play.
When people sleep. Because
music.
In other episodes, they're like, it's only 10:30. And Lorelai's like, it's so early. And now you're up at 6:30 a.m. on TV.
Y'all, I need more sleep than that.
I have to get up at 6 a.m. to get Harper up and get her ready for school and get out the door and get her to school in time. If I go to sleep any later than 11, I'm a zombie.
Yeah. I get up at 7. Okay, I'm not a good example because I not get enough sleep.
Enough little sleep
most of the time.
It's your coffee addiction.
It is my that.
Well, I can't talk. I drink an entire pot of coffee every morning. An entire pot of coffee of half calf.
Right. But if we're going to talk about coffee addictions, I mean, this is a prime example. Lorelai is the biggest coffee addiction person ever. So maybe.
True. So maybe she doesn't need as much sleep. She's running on caffeine and a dream.
Pure caffeine, baby.
Lorelai's own words. I can't stop drinking coffee. If I stop drinking the coffee, oh my God, what does she say? I stop making the words and the sense doing.
Favorite Rory coffee quote. Okay, I have a favorite Lorelai one and I have a favorite Rory one that I use both of them. My favorite Rory one is the one where Logan gets her the coffee cart and then she's in therapy and she's crying and she's like, I have to
love
stop drinking coffee. And I love coffee.
It's so good.
It's really good.
That whole meltdown is maybe like one of her best. I don't often like her emotional scenes. She's not.
She doesn't
I love
do it
her,
for me. Yeah.
but her emotional scenes never like give. That's a good one though. She does very well.
That's a very good one. So that's my favorite Rory coffee quote. My favorite Lorelai one is the one that I talked about before, where she's like, "This is not an herbal tea morning. I need coffee in a vat." And then he comes out with the coffee and she's all like, "You're pretty."
Yeah.
So Lane says, on a park bench contemplating the reunification of the two Koreas, and Lorelai says, "Not here, skanking to Rancid." They all three head out and run into Babette and Maury walking their cat, Cinnamon, in a little wagon with a roof. Rory says, "Cinnamon, riding in style." Babette explains that Maury made it because Cinnamon isn't walking very good these days, but she still likes her.
50.
Yeah, because she's 50 years old. But she still likes her passeggiatas, which is Italian for a nice walk.
We got a lot of Italian in the last couple episodes.
Yeah. And Maury says it, and she goes, "Oh, it sounds so sexy." I love them so much.
Okay. Have you ever watched All in the Family?
No.
Okay.
I need to, though, because that's what Babette's
you
like
should,
from, right?
At minimum, just to see Sally Struthers as a young woman. Because you'll be like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
she was like,
she looks
fine.
completely different. She sounds completely different. But yeah, she's super hot. And it's just like crazy how far she's come, Like, does that make sense?
No, totally.
It's just like, she was like a young, hot actress they got for this sitcom. And now she's like this amazing actress that has done so much. Yeah. You should watch it.
Love it.
I mean, it's funny, but also just to see her.
Okay. Also, since we're talking about like how far people have come, I don't know how to say this and like sound respectful, but
that's okay. I've said lots of things that could come off as disrespectful in this conversation, I think.
Miss Patty, remind me of the actress's name. Do you know it?
My God. Hold on. Nope, but I can find it. Even recognize her in the Liz Torres.
Yeah, Liz Torres. She lost an insane amount of weight. I was like, girl, that's crazy. Yeah, and very impressive.
Amazing. She looked so much healthier. I didn't even recognize her in A Year in the Life. I was like, is Miss Patty now? Oh, that's Miss Patty.
Oh, that's her. Yeah, crazy. She looks so good.
She looks incredible.
But yeah. So yeah, I'll have to watch All in the Family. They walk away and Rory says, "Okay, our town is just weird." And Lorelai says, "Thank God." We now see Rory waiting for the bus as Dean approaches and decides to follow her onto the bus.
Weird.
Weird
behavior. This is the man you like.
Yeah, Dean is creepy. Dean is creepy in these first couple episodes.
He's creepy and obsessive, and that's why I don't.
I'm going to go back. Okay, I'm going to go back to How I Met Your Mother for a minute. I think it's the Doppler Dahmer thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Where it's like Rory likes him, so it's charming. Right. But if she didn't, it would be creepy.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I think you're right. Yes.
You see that edit that was going around that was Gilmore Girls horror movie edit that somebody made? And it was Dean being like, "I've been watching."
Yes, I did see that, and it was very fun.
It's very funny. And now
either you sent it to me or I sent it to you. I don't remember which way, but yes.
I think I sent it to you. But yeah, I was, now that I'm rewatching like these first couple episodes with Dean, I'm like, okay, he actually is like really creepy. Real creepy vibes. It's real creepy.
Yeah, and then
vibes.
He gets super weird and jealous and obsessive. Yeah.
Okay, but
and that's not what you want.
Okay, but
I think this podcast is good. It's going to turn you away.
Okay, but I think he's the lesser of the three evils. See, I can't get on board with Logan.
Logan is worse than Dean?
I think Logan's so much worse than Dean. I can't get on board with Logan because Logan is a fucking rich, entitled, snotty-ass kid who thinks that the world
is... the same way that I argue for Jess, I can argue for Logan that yes, in the beginning, he was that way. I think he changed as he got older. He gave up all of the opportunities that his dad was giving him, and he tried to make it on his own without his dad's money.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's a good point. Rory, on the other hand, we don't even need to talk about A Year in the Life. We don't even need to get into that. Maybe we will do a rewatch of that, but then just be like, This is so bad. This is so bad. This is so bad. The whole
What?
of A Year in the Life.
Oh, I guess.
Well, I feel like doing this rewatch has made me like look at a lot of things through a different set of eyes.
Okay. We can do
So,
A Year in the Life. It'll only be an extra month.
All right.
We are quite literally years away.
Oh, this is going to take us like 5 years.
It's going to take so long.
So,
We may have to, honestly, I hate to say this, but to keep things like fresh and interesting, we may have to take a break from Gilmore Girls and like insert some other shows and then come back. We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, I feel like we'll pick some people up. I think it'll be good.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah.
I think we made a mistake taking that break. We were in prime Gilmore Girls rewatch season.
We really were. Yeah.
That's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's fine. We're still in winter. It'll be okay. He says, hey, and she lets out just the most scared scream. Like, it's so humorous. She's like, oh, it's so funny.
Listen, this is her first ever acting job. She's doing great.
I don't even necessarily think it's like bad acting. I just think it's like really funny. Like, I think it's meant to be just like, oh my gosh. Like,
yeah. Like how anyone would react if someone snuck up on them.
Yeah. He saw her standing in line, so he thought he would say hello. It's weird. Nah, it's weird. Why didn't you say hello like to her while she was in line?
Hello when you saw me standing in line. Why'd you get on the bus?
Why'd you get on the bus with me?
Leave?
Yeah, that's weird. Anyway.
That's like, I saw you when you had an escape path, but I waited until you were trapped to say hi.
Well, it's like, I saw you getting on a plane, so I bought a ticket and I got on the plane with you.
I'm going to get on that bus.
You had to pay to get on the bus. Like, that's
live
weird.
In the same town, bro. Just say hi later. Like,
yeah. No, it's weird. She says hello. He thanks her for helping him get the job at the store because it's got him solvent. She says solvent is good. He asks her.
Solvent. Sir, you are 16.
Yeah. Why are you saying words like solvent? That's weird.
What do you mean solvent? You have bills. You have debt.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? All right, sorry.
He asks her how long it takes her to get to school, and she says 40 minutes. Then she remembers that he's on the bus and that the bus is going to Hartford and that he goes to school there. And she starts freaking out a little. He says, you're forgetting something. Buses make stops. And then that
also,
movie magic time.
Not your problem.
Yeah. She's like, wait, you need to go to school. The bus is going to Hartford. Like, why is she like, girl, relax.
This man got paid for a bus ticket to surprise you. You don't know him. You should want him to get off the bus, but for different reasons.
Yeah. It's giving like I relate to it a little bit because it is giving like the fixer person.
Mothering,
like, the person that's like, which ironically, foreshadowing. Ironically, she becomes that a little bit where she's like, you could do so much more. You need to be applying to schools. You need.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Don't date someone that you need to fix. Problem with Dean number 2.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that movie magic timing, the bus stops exactly as he says that, and he gets off. He says, goodbye, Lorelai Gilmore. So I noticed a little more foreshadowing that maybe I'm reading too much into. So Dean, in this moment, says her full name correctly. Could this be a reference to how everyone at Chilton calls her Mary, and it really bothers her? Or even how they had a hard time understanding that she has a nickname? Like Dean and everyone in Stars Hollow.
Weird.
Yeah, that's weird too. Yeah. Like Dean and everyone in Stars Hollow is just more like comfy / understands her more in this moment. Or like, am I reading way too much into this?
I don't think so. That sounds like a TV writer thought process to me.
Yeah, because it's like, I feel like in this like time frame, she's like really struggling at school and she's like starting to really get into Dean. Like this is like right after she like almost didn't go to Chilton because she was like, I'm comfy Dean. Here. This is my comfort zone, you know?
Right.
So I don't know.
I could see that.
Yeah. So him saying Lorelai Gilmore, I think, was a little bit of like, comfy.
I also think it was a nod to, because when they met, She said her name was Rory. Well, my full name's Lorelai. And he said, Lorelai Gilmore. I like that. And like, maybe it's just like he remembered a detail about you. Like it's in an attempt to make him look more charming, romantic, insert adjective here.
What have you? Yeah, totally.
Yes.
And so we are now back at the inn, and a group of people walk up to Michel and start talking to him in French. He's telling them that he doesn't speak French, and they're confused. He says, "Sir, I am a simple country boy from Texas."
Texas.
Lorelai comes over and says, he knows you're not from Texas, and says it is Michelle's job to keep the French group happy. Michelle says, I don't know how many French people you've met over the years, but most of them are insufferable. To which she replies, really? Which is super funny.
You don't say.
Michelle refuses, and then Lorelai looks at him with the do it or something unspeakable shall befall you look until he agrees. He says, fine, I shall be French, but I shall not be happy. And she says, then you will be yourself.
I love that one.
Very funny. I should say something, and we can just punch in here because this is something I feel like the podcast should know too. Okay. You may make fun of me. Have one of the great joys in my life is drinking coffee out of a mug because I don't get to do it all the time. Because
you're
work
usually on the go.
875 hours a week. So I have my Gilmore Girls coffee mug that I think you got me. Yeah. And then
no idea.
I'm pretty sure maybe, oh no, I'm lying. Oh, hopefully he doesn't see this. Jake got this for me.
I'll
No, you don't have to. It's fine. And then I also, because I was like, I don't want to have to get up and get more coffee, I also have my Canada coffee mug. So
it's really funny that you said that because I just looked at my mug and I have one sip of coffee and I was like,
I prepared. When I went to go get my iPad, I was like, I'm getting another cup of coffee.
No, that's so smart. Now I got to do it with no coffee. So
all right, let's jump back in.
All right.
If you are still here from last time, nothing happened. I'm pretty sure I'm wearing the same thing I wore last time we recorded. So theoretically, the room looks different because I rearranged it. There's a couch behind me, actually. But
my room looks the same, but very different from last time we recorded. And this is our first daytime recording, so we'll see how the dynamic is different when it's not the middle of the night.
Yeah, maybe Mom will be happier with this one. We'll cuss less. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. I'm a little bit crazy all the time.
Yes.
Okay, so we are now back at the Chilton bake sale where Suki has clearly made this over-the-top, just the most over-the-top things for the bake sale that Lorelai was supposed to make. Rory asked...
Are we surprised?
Yeah.
Suki
I think we talked about
making stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time, but like it should have just been a known thing that one, Suki was going to do it, and two, she was going to go way over the top, and it was going to be like the best thing there. Rory asks if she can use the fire torch thing, and Suki says it takes an expert hand as she unknowingly sets the table on fire. Lorelai grabs a cup full of lemonade from the other table and promptly puts it out. The ladies at the lemonade table look annoyed, and Lorelai says, "What is that, $1? I'll give you 2. I'll drink one." And then takes a drink and says, tasty and flame retardant. Which this is
what
like
a weird thing to be annoyed about. Like, how dare you put that fucking...
Right, exactly. Like, you would definitely be... This is giving, like, the couple on that episode of The Office that, like, wouldn't move down so that Dwight could sit with Michael and Jim. Like, yes. It's like, no one would do that. Like, they definitely would be like, oh my God, I'm glad you got the fire out. Like, or like, oh yeah, I'll move down so you can sit with your party. Like... Who wants to do that? I'm rocking the 3 beverages today.
What is it that you say? 1 for hydration, 1 for energy, and 1 for fun?
Exactly. Although today I have 1 for hydration and then 2 for energy, but they're also fun. I think my energy drinks are also my fun drinks.
That's fair.
She then comes back to her table where Max is waiting. He says very Henry VIII about their table and then says, good to see you, Lorelai. To which she responds, good to see you, Mr. Medina. He tries to correct her and say Max multiple times. She then introduces him to Suki, saying, Mr. Medina, meet Suki, the chef at the inn. Suki, Mr. Medina. Suki then teases her, asking, what's his name again? Max asks to speak to Lorelai on the side and says, I would love the ice
to interject here.
Yes, what's up?
I believe this is the beginning of Max being the worst. I dropped that controversy last week, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Lorelai is clearly trying to set a boundary that she's not interested in a personal relationship with this man, and he won't drop it.
Yes, agreed. Completely agreed. I don't even think, like, okay, I do think she, like, sure, maybe she's being a little icy about it, but, like, it's also just like, no, she's just calling you Mr. Medina. Like, because you're a teacher.
I call my kids teachers whatever my kid calls them, because that
exactly
makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that was a clear boundary. She was like, no, Mr. Medina, we don't have a friendship.
Yeah, this is not like that. He says,
also, I'll give you a heads up. I think I was grumpy this morning or something. I'm taking these notes and I got to the end and I was like, I have hated on everyone. It's not that serious.
That's what we're here for. We should just rename this podcast like Gilmore Girls Hate Club.
Seriously.
The show we love and the characters we
like this song. This song, this show.
Oh, man. He says, I would love... We do. We love this show. Clearly. He says, I would love for the ice to thaw. Lorelai says, there's no ice. He says he was just doing his job. He didn't let Rory take the test and that he didn't like it, but he had to do it. He says he wants to be friends with Lorelai. And she says, we are. Me too. There's no more ice. We're walking on a pool of tepid water. He says, good. And then he says he's going to propose something, but isn't sure how she's going to take it. Does he really think this is the time to do this? Like, she's literally like, sure, whatever, we're friends, but like, you're Mr. Medina. And like, he's like, oh yeah, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, back up, dude. Like, she's trying to put up a wall here.
Yeah, like, you already set this boundary, but I'm going to ask if you want to date. I'm gonna take it a step further.
Exactly.
Like, that's crazy.
You don't even want to have like a personal relationship with me, but how about we date?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And to be fair, later Lorelai's given some mixed signals, but at this point in the conversation, I feel like she's made it very clear that she does not want to spend time with this man.
Yeah, no, definitely. Lorelai says, wow, intrigue, because I think she knows where it's going.
She kind of like rolls her eyes when she says it. She's like, oh, wow, intrigue.
Wow, intrigue. And let me just say, any relationship that starts like this, probably not going to work out. Any relationship
whenever you have to talk someone into a relationship, not good, probably not gonna end well.
It's like, I always think of like the episode of How I Met Your Mother where like Robin meets Ted's parents and they're like talking about their divorce and they're like, like they're like explaining everything that happened with like Robin and Ted. They're like, he didn't even want to date, or she didn't even want to date me. I had to convince her and all this stuff. And like, it's like this. Then he asks her out. He says, I'd like to see you sometime, away from the ivory, away from the gargoyles, away from here. Why? Yeah. Okay. I put in my notes. I was like, why does Max always pick the absolute worst time to do stuff? It's like when he proposed. Seriously.
The way yes.
Like middle of an argument. Will you marry me? Like it's almost a red flag because it's like, he's like, this is what I want out of a relationship. I want to be arguing with you all the time.
Exactly. He's like, I love this contention. I'd like to continue doing it for the rest of my life.
Yeah. It makes me, we recently watched The Notebook because Jake had never seen it. And I was like, oh, you gotta see The Notebook, thinking like, this movie is so great. And I was like,
it's pretty toxic.
This movie is terrible. I mean, it's a great movie, but I'm like, no wonder we all like dated men that treated us like shit like in high school because we were watching The Notebook being like, oh, they're so cute. Like, she's abusive. She literally like smacks him every time they fight. And he's like, you're a pain in the ass. Like, what the this is not cute at all.
No, it's not good.
Anyway, yeah. So
I feel
maybe
like that's like every romantic comedy from the 90s and early 2000s. It's like, guy likes girl, girl doesn't like guy talks girl into dating.
He literally threatens to kill himself so that she'll go out with him. It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's not a good example.
So cute. Such goals.
But then they die holding hands.
And she cheats on him with a guy that, okay, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but Lon deserved better. Like, he was just a guy who like fell in love with a girl.
Existing.
and like wanted to marry her, and he was so good to her. And she's just like, let me go back to this other guy who treated me like shit and I abused. Hi, Sadie.
Can I help you? No.
Sorry, that was like a totally random like rabbit hole.
Tangent,
But
that's
yeah,
okay.
The Notebook as a movie, great. As a relationship, what the fuck?
But we really were. We were all like, oh, and they grew old and died holding hands.
Yeah. Like what? Anyway,
Terrible.
Jake did cry though, so that was a good.
Aw.
Yeah, he was like, and I was like, why are you crying? And he was like, it's a sad movie. It was really funny. Dummy.
Why aren't you crying?
He's like, I'm not letting you pick the movies anymore.
So
Lorelai says, I don't want to go out on a limb here, but I'm guessing if the headmaster won't let a kid be 30 seconds late for a test, he'd probably frown on a teacher dating a mom. She's so real for that. Max says there's nothing in the Chilton Book of Ethics that prohibits it. Yeah, prohibits it. To which she responds, I'm guessing it's sort of an unwritten rule. He asks
they
again.
probably think that the
again.
teachers at Chilton are smart enough to know better.
For real. Like, that shouldn't have to be a rule. He asks again and again if she wants to go, and eventually she says yes. I hate it so much. And then says, wait, no, I can't, it's weird, it's wrong, it's weird. He says, I'll pay, and she says, you're on, which I thought was funny.
It's clearly a joke. And then
clearly
he's like, wait, seriously?
Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. It's just like, this is also probably why all of the guys that like we knew when we were like in high school were like this.
This was the example they were being given.
Exactly. Where it's like, you are the prize, and it's your greatest joy in life to date me, or I am the prize. Yeah.
I got you.
No, reverse that. She says, I don't know, you're Rory's teacher. She asks if he could quit, and then says, right, that's crazy, I'm sorry, which is really funny. He asks if she likes coffee, and she says, only with my oxygen.
What a mood.
What a mood. He then asks if they can get a drink or drink some coffee together as a pre-date to see if it's even worth going down that road, and including food into the deal. After some hesitation, she finally says, I'm going to be in town tomorrow because I take a class at Hartford State, and there's a coffee shop across the street that I sometimes, almost all the time, go to around 4. I could not stop a person from entering said establishment around that time, nor would I avoid them if I knew them. I feel so seen with Lorelai's 4 p.m. coffee. So seen. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I get off work and I'm like, I'm going to drive through Starbucks on my way home because I have to sit in traffic for an hour.
That's so fair.
And like, no one talks about the post-work pick-me-up enough. Like, we have the midday, like, you need your midday pick-me-up. The post-work pick-me-up is very important.
Absolutely. When I'm working morning shifts, I get home at like, I don't know, 3 or between 3 and 4. And yeah, I'm like I don't want to do anything.
Like, I don't want to be tired when I get home from work. I want to like hang out with I almost said my husband. That's you.
Oh.
That's not me.
Yeah, I have one of those.
Yeah, not yet.
Just Jake, listen to this podcast.
No, but I mean, yes. And I mean, he's in the other rooms. So he's probably listening to it right now. But yeah, no, I want to like hang out with my boyfriend and do all the many other things I have to do. And I'm like,
well, and like clean my house and like,
yeah, exactly.
Make dinner.
Right. Exactly. So I feel very seen by that. We are now back at Stars Hollow, and Lane is telling Rory that if she could live in any city in the world, she would live in Philadelphia because M. Night Shyamalan lives there. Rory says, who?
Oh,
and I love her so much. Like, she's my favorite. Rory says, who? And Lane says, the guy that directed The Sixth Sense. Rory says, but what would you do there? And she says, hang out with M. Night Shyamalan, which is super funny. I love this conversation so much. Like, anyway, Rory and Lane see Babette and Maury walking with Cinnamon. Cinnamon is meowing super loud, and Rory says, wow, that sounds bad. Babette says Cinnamon's dyspeptic. I think that's correct.
That sounds right.
But yeah, which I had to look up
what
that meant, and I honestly forgot. I think it means irritated by many things or something like that.
Dyspeptic.
Give us a definition.
Of or having indigestion or consequent irritability or depression. It means being upset because you have an upset tummy.
Okay, got it. It's like hangry, but like the opposite.
Right. Sure.
Okay, I loved Babette in this moment because Maury says bad clams and Babette says this doesn't reflect well on Al's establishment, which is just such a fun line to me for some reason.
Okay, but the reference to eating clams at Al's Pancake World made my stomach turn.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm so wary of seafood at non-seafood restaurants. Like, I won't even eat seafood at fast food restaurants. Like the fish fillet, no thank you. Long John Silver's not for me. I don't trust it.
I'm so glad you said that, because I don't even know if explaining this is going to be funny. So, like, when you have an inside joke and it's like so deeply in like lore that it's maybe not even funny to other people.
Right. It would take like an hour to explain all the backstory.
Yeah, right. So, okay. So at the beginning of this A Day to Remember song, it's like the song is about like them traveling, like whatever. And so the beginning of the song is just them like yapping, basically, or the end of the song. Right. The end of the song is just them like yapping about like whatever. And one of the guys is like telling this story, and he like says this. He's like, and then he was like, I'm not eating at fucking Long John Silver's. And me and Jake quote that all the time.
That's so funny.
Just like randomly be like, I'm not eating at fucking Long John Silver. And like no one knows what it is. This is like the B-side of this like A Day to Remember.
Right. But it's so really funny.
It reminds me of like, why did you drop out of Yale? Like the same, just like a silly thing that you quote because it's funny.
And everybody's like, what?
Yeah.
That describes like the whole beginning of Ben and I's relationship was just me quoting like super obscure things in funny moments, and Ben thought I was much funnier than I am because he didn't know any of that.
Amazing. Oh my god. He's like, it's like the new girl, like, did I do that? We don't care that you got your catchphrase from a really bad web series.
Your web series, yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny. But yeah, Rory says, you had clams at Al's Pancake World. And Babette says, yeah, well, we had a coupon. That was super funny. Very funny scene. Rory and Lane walk past the store, and Rory eyes Dean working. She turns to Lane and says, oh, wow, the store. Hey, listen, I had to pick up some stuff. It's so funny. Like this whole interaction, I was like, oh my god, it's so good. But Lane is super mean in this scene. Like I feel like she should tell. She's mean. She literally calls her a freak.
Well, to be fair, Rory's kind of being a freak right now.
That's valid, I guess. Yeah. Oh, wow, the store. And then Lane is like asking what she has to pick up, and Rory's brushing her off, saying, just some stuff. I'll talk to you later tonight. Lane tries to go in with her, and Rory says, why? Lane says, if she doesn't go in with her, she'll have to go home. And Rory says, yeah, actually, I don't have to go in. Lane says, I guess I'll just go home then. And Rory says, okay, great, go, bye. And then Lane turns and goes, freak. It's really funny. But also I feel like Lane should know. Like, shouldn't Lane know? Because she's the one that told her about Dean.
Lane wouldn't. I don't, but Rory's really like uncomfortable about having a crush on someone. Maybe she's too embarrassed to tell Lane.
It's true. It's true. Anyway, so Rory goes into Dosie's and watches Dean from afar. He notices her and waves.
He is matching his creep energy.
Yeah. A little bit. This did make me be like, okay, maybe it's like a Doppler. Which one's the good one? Dahmer, because Jeffrey Dahmer.
Right, Doppler. Doppler's the one, the boombox guy.
Boombox guy. Yeah, this is a boombox guy say anything situation, I think, where it's like, he was creepy, but then she's also being a little creepy here.
Yeah. But it's okay because she likes him, I guess.
She likes him and he likes her, and it's cute. Exactly. Just then she runs into Miss Patty, who is looking at fruit. She says, Rory, hello, try a plum. They're better than sex. Just super funny. Miss Patty asks Rory what she's there for, and she says, oh, well, while looking over at Dean. Miss Patty says, oh, I see what you're here for. Rory says, Miss Patty, it's not like that. He's just a person, a boy type person. Miss Patty says, my favorite kind.
And Rory says, I want to be Miss Patty when I grow up. And that's not a joke. I've told Ben, I'm like, listen, if you die before me, I'm going to be traveling and living lavishly as a horny old woman.
Horny old woman. I love that so much.
That's my dream.
I love it so much. I also I just want to put it out there because I saw a meme about this the other day. It was like, is the rich aunt really rich, or does she just not have any kids and live far away? And I was like, yes, that. And then I was like, I want to be seen as the rich aunt so bad. So just like make it known.
Harper already thinks you're a celebrity. Yeah. She's like, I told you, when she hasn't done it in a while. If she was like in kindergarten or first grade, she would like ask her teachers. She'd be like, have you heard of Alyssa? Just your one name.
Just drop in the name. Like she's like, oh, no big deal. But like
your Cher. Like
your Cher.
Have you heard of Alyssa? That's my aunt. Do you listen to her music?
That's so funny. Sorry.
So she lives in LA. She's kind of famous.
In reality, I'm just a guy, a little guy.
It's so great though.
And by guy, I mean girl. Yeah, that's pretty great. So, I would just like to start the rumor that I have a lot of money and that I am the cool, fun, rich aunt.
Okay.
That
you want to be the wine aunt?
Yeah, I want to be the wine aunt.
The one that just like swoops into family gatherings and says a bunch of crazy things and gets drunk on wine and then swoops away.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to start like saving up money so that I can just so that I can just fully play into this like thing I'm trying to fabricate where like when I come to visit, I'll just like slip your kids like $100 and be like, you know what I mean? I was like,
you're like dripping in designer and you're like, I'm off to the Amalfi Coast.
Yeah. I am going to the Met Gala today. I do have a Coach. I think it's Coach. See, this is how far out of my league it is. I do have a Coach wallet that my boss got for me like a year ago. That used to be my only fancy wallet. I used to only use it for fancy things. And now it's my full-time wallet. I've promoted it because
you feel comfortable enough with it to use it all the time.
I feel comfortable enough with it to promote it. And I was like, I just it's one of those things where it's like, I love like a fancy gift because it's like, I don't get fancy things very often.
Yeah.
But then like when people are like, oh, you have a coat, I'm like, it is a gift.
Well, see,
don't be fooled.
I do spend money when I have it to spend on like, I like designer bags and wallets and stuff because they hold up so much better. I have a Michael Kors wallet that I have used exclusively as my everyday all the time wallet for over 10 years.
Love it.
And it's still in great condition.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing about like nice designer and like I would get more stuff of that if I had the money to, but I always be buying last season stuff. I'm a designer outlet mall shopper. Absolutely. I also like sometimes it feels weird to like be carrying around my like, Nightmare Before Christmas bag that I got from Hot Topic with my like designer wallet. Like for some reason
a clash of personalities there.
But also that's a little bit just me. I'm just a clash of personalities as a human being.
My brand.
That's my brand. Rory says, I really don't even know him. And then she says, please don't say anything. Miss Patty says, I promise that I won't tell a single soul that you do not know that young man.
I love that line.
Super funny. Do we believe her though?
She won't tell a single soul? Yeah. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Miss Patty's a town gossip. She will tell the next person she sees.
Yes, 100%.
Just then, Kirk starts scolding Miss Patty for eating fruit without paying. And this is where I
hate this lack of continuity.
Yeah, this episode, like, specifically, it's just like, no, this is not, like, this is finally Kirk in the name.
But it's not yet. It's not Kirk yet.
Yeah, because it's like, he was supposed to have lived there for years and years and years. Miss Patty would definitely
He took ballet with Miss Patty.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I don't like it, but we're doing it.
We'll get through it.
We'll get through it together. This exchange ends with him telling Miss Patty, the next time you put something in that mouth that doesn't belong there, I'm going to have it removed and then call the police. Which is super.
I like Miss Patty's face after she says that. Yeah. She's like,
oh, yeah. We're now over at the checkout counter where Rory is buying a head of lettuce and a mousetrap. Dean eagerly goes to her register to bag. He says, that's a couple of must-need items there. He's so weird. Like, everything he says is weird.
This episode should have been titled Men Aggressively Pursuing Women and Making Them Uncomfortable.
Yeah, for real. And offers to loan her money for the mousetrap. She decides not to get it, and he says she can use half the head of lettuce to clobber the mouse with. He's weird. I put in my notes, I put he's weird.
Yeah, a little bit. He does, when Rory's acting normal and herself, he does match her level of weird here.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
But also, I feel like this isn't the Dean that we come to know either. Like, his character changes a lot.
Yeah, like, I feel like he would have had more almost Jess energy meeting Lorelai if he remained like this. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah,
he's
I
like
think
sassy and
I think originally he was supposed to be kind of a Jess character, but then
which, like,
Jess came along.
thank God he's not. Here's the thing though, I found out recently because my For You page has become so much more Gilmore Girls. Quite literally every human alive hates Dean. And when someone says, like, there's this one guy who his TikTok, he's like, all right, I just every like season that he finishes, he like gives a recap. And like all of the comments, because he recently was like, I don't know if I'm feeling Dean like anymore. And all the comments are like, thank God. And before they were like, don't worry, we were all team Dean once. He's going to come around. He's going to see the Dean's.
The thing about our Dean and Jess argument is I don't disagree with you. Jess sucked when they dated in high school, but he matured and became a better person. Dean went the opposite way.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I will say though, it's shitty for him to like come back a better person and then be like judge.
Can we date now?
And and be like, can we date now? But then also be like,
when she dropped out of Yale and stuff.
Why did you drop out of Yale?
That was the push Rory needed to get her life back together. We'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's shitty. Like, I don't know. If you were like, okay, for instance, if you had some kind of problem and you were like a mess as a human being, and then I had my shit together, like, do I think that if I came back and I was a mess as a human being, you would like, you'd definitely like say something, like you'd probably be like, hey, like maybe blah, blah, blah. But like, if I was there for you during all of your shit, it would be
not
shitty
judging,
for you to come,
letting you work through stuff. Yeah.
It would be shitty for you to come back to me and then be like, why did you drop out of Yale?
You get it out of your system yet?
No, I will never get it out of my system. Anyway, sorry. So now we see Lorelai walking into her 4 p.m. coffee shop. She sits down next to Max and pretends to be shocked to see her. He says he's drinking plain coffee and that he wanted cream, but that prompted a very elaborate phone conversation. For some reason, I always found that part super funny.
I won't lie. Max is problematic, but I like their banter. He does hold his own in the back and forth.
The banter is cute. Okay. I have maybe this is a weird hang up, but I have a hang up. So every time that Lorelai's at a coffee shop or diner or anything, she's just like, I would like coffee. That's so vague. You got to give more than that. Like,
you can say just like a black coffee.
Black coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's just like coffee. Like, I feel like, and after like the dichotomy of hearing about Max being like, well, I wanted to get cream, but then this, and like, and then her being like, I'd like a coffee. Like, wouldn't he also have then just been like, I'd like a coffee?
Right.
And then, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. She's got to say more.
I get it with Luke's, because Luke obviously knows what she wants.
Right.
Yeah, everywhere else they do it. I mean, of course it's like silly. It's TV stuff. So they're not going to make up an order for them every time. But like Rory does it in college too. She's always like, one small coffee, please.
Yeah. Yep. But anyway, I mean, and they do it on Friends too, where it's like, that's a coffee and coffee. You want me to write it down for you? Anyway, they go back and forth a minute saying, well, here we are running into each other outside of school. Lorelai says, should we cut the cute and just get right to it? Max says he thinks they should date because he thinks they both want to. Lorelai says, well, I want to be in the Bengals, but that doesn't mean I should quit my job and get a guitar and ruin my life, does it? To be a Bengal. He says the Bengals broke up, and she says, yeah, but that's not the point. He says they're attracted to each other, and then she says, I'm attracted to pie. It doesn't mean I feel the need to date pie. It's just very funny.
Good.
She lost me on that one, though. I'm not going to lie. I was like, you're attracted to pie? That's a little weird.
I was about to say, I might have some follow-up questions.
What do they call that? Maybe I'm thinking of the word attraction wrong, but I don't think I am, actually.
Well, there are different kinds of attraction, I guess.
That's fair. He says he knows she's concerned, but that he is the soul of discretion. She says, dated a lot of Chilton moms, huh? He says, no, he means for any relationship. And she says, oh, so you just have things to hide in all aspects of your life. He starts answering all the questions she's asking with yes. And she says, are you just telling me what I want to hear? Or sorry, she says, if you're just telling me what I want to hear, I'm not really getting to know you. He says, but if I'm telling you what you want to hear, that shows a level of understanding on my part that far exceeds your understanding of me. Max is
and that explanation is stupid.
It's stupid, and it's also like you just said a lot of words that don't really mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. All you're doing is saying, yeah, I don't know anything about you, but I'm lying because I want to date you. Real stand-up guy, Max. Good job.
Yeah. Like, I get the whole, like, it's like he can match her level of, like, wit. But, no, I don't like it.
He's quite literally doing the, like, I'll say anything she wants to hear, which doesn't work in the long term because then you don't have anything in common.
Yep. Eventually, you got to be your true self. You can't fake it forever.
And it's much easier if you do that in the beginning before there are emotional connections.
Exactly. She says, Rory is my life, my pal, my everything. I would never do anything to hurt her. A man sits between them, and they just keep talking like he's not there, which is super funny. Max says she can try stunting Rory's growth by blowing cigarette smoke on her, and the man between them looks at Max in shock. He says to the man, "You are so taking this out of context." The guy moves, and Max scoots over. He starts telling Lorelai a story about his uncle. Lorelai says, "This is going to be sad, isn't it?" He told a story about how his uncle never talked to this girl, and then he got drafted, and then he came back, and she was gone. He said his uncle told him, if there's something in your gut that you feel is right, you gotta go after it no matter what. Lorelai says, maybe dinner wouldn't be such a bad idea. Okay, also telling her like a weird made up romantic story
More
to
lies.
Get her to say that's a lie to get her to say yes. Like crazy.
So manipulative. So manipulative.
Very, very manipulative. He gets up to leave and she says, that story about your uncle, is it true? Max says, goodbye, Lorelai Gilmore. Okay.
So what is it with these men and using their full names all the time?
I literally put in all caps. Okay, that one was definitely on purpose. I think it was a like double thing. Like I think it was definitely on purpose. Where it was like Dean used her full name and it made her feel comfy and safe and like all this stuff. And then for Lorelai, it was like the same.
Makes sense. Yeah, because they both do it. So that has to be that was a choice.
That was definitely a choice. And I also think that Dean and Max are supposed to be like kind of the same,
Yeah.
Like they
are. I get
that.
that.
Yeah. Like they're
the
step one Stars Hollow.
Right.
Yeah.
Choice. The like good guy. You should want to love him. And
I think it shows like Lorelai and Rory and like what they don't want out of a man, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's like it shows them growing and like these two guys are meant to be like we're staying
holding them back.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like it's good that they're synced up right now, but then obviously later they will very much not be.
Complicated.
Yeah. So we're now back at Luke's with one of my favorite Suki moments in the entire show. I want to get this Suki line
just have a note that's like
on my body. Sorry,
Wait, which one?
No, say what you were gonna say.
Well, I was just gonna say I love the Suki behind the counter dressing up everybody's food moment, but what line?
I love that. So my absolute favorite Suki line, I think, in the entire show. Lorelai says, "Life is a funny thing, huh?" And then Suki just cracks up and goes, "Yeah, I love that, Jim Carrey." Which is like her just like not realizing like what Lorelai is talking about, just like fully in her own world. She's like, "Oh, Jim Carrey is so funny." I know. It's so
She's
good.
just thinking about the Grinch.
She says, "He's just funny." And Lorelai says, "I don't mean funny. I mean philosophical." And Suki says, "Oh, very serious face." Lorelai explains that she met an amazing guy, but he's Rory's teacher. She says he's sexy, smart, and funny, and he likes coffee. Suki says he sounds perfect for her, and then starts calling for Luke because he forgot the onions on their burgers. Lorelai says it's a real crossroads situation, like to perm or not to perm. Suki tells her, keep talking, as she walks behind the counter and starts fixing everyone's meals, which it's very good.
So great.
Very good and very Suki.
So great. Yes.
It's almost like it's a compulsion. Like she must like fix the food.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, I feel like when it comes to food with Suki, like nothing else matters. Like she just has to like, yes, like you said, like a compulsion.
Yeah. Suki says she doesn't see the problem or what the problem is. And then Lorelai starts explaining how it might affect Rory and how she doesn't want her to get hurt. Suki says, you do know that Rory's not a baby anymore. And Lorelai says maybe she's being too serious. Lorelai starts telling Suki how it'd be great to get, and she is not getting it at all. Luke comes out very upset about her being behind the counter. He says it's a sacred space. You don't do yoga on the Dalai Lama's mat and you don't come behind his counter. which is super funny. Lorelai says she's going to tell Rory about Max soon. It's just a very delicate, fragile subject. It's like one of Suki's souffles. If you don't do it right, it's a disaster. And Suki says, yeah, and you have to order it 45 minutes in advance. Lorelai says she wasn't speaking directly about the souffle. She was speaking metaphorically. Suki says,
literally,
oh, you don't like my souffle?
this is literally a conversation that happens between me and my husband all the time. Like, he'll say something and I'm like, what do you mean? And he'll like try to explain himself. And I'm like, so you're saying you don't like me?
You don't love me anymore. Yeah, this is a very like girlfriend, like it's giving like their, a girlfriend interaction where it's like, you wouldn't love me if I were a worm kind of thing.
It's very much you wouldn't love me if I were a worm.
Just then, Rory walks in and says Lorelai needs to come quickly. It's Cinnamon. They walk up to Babette's house and there's a tiny little body bag on the floor. I'm sorry.
God, I didn't even
it's not funny, but it's
even
so
register
tiny.
that. What?
Also, the fact that they had a body bag for a cat.
They put a cat in a body bag.
Babette is very upset and telling them how she thought Cinnamon was sleeping and she tried to nudge her awake. And since they just waxed the floors, she went shooting across the room. And when she still didn't move, she knew it was over. Maury is blaming himself, saying he shouldn't have given her the clams. That's when the vet says, Maury, in human years, this cat was 260 years old. Wait, how old would the cat be?
I think she meant cat years.
Well, yeah, she meant cat years, but like,
yeah,
are cat years
oh,
like dog
I actually, years? Hold on. Okay, 260 in cat years is roughly 50 human years, and that's a crazy amount of life for.
That's insane. Oh my God. The implication that a cat lived to be 50.
Average cat life. Yeah, 13 to 20 years for domestic.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think it's pretty much the same as like dogs.
That's a little longer than dogs. Well, yeah, small dogs live longer, I guess, but.
Yeah. Yes. Thank God. Thank God. Yeah. So this whole scene was very funny. Rory says they'll stay as long as they want. And Maury says he's never eating clams again. And Rory says, me either, which I thought was super cute.
Very sweet.
Rory
I like
and
all
Maury,
the like
in this.
Yes. I like the
episode.
Implications of like the neighborly relationship. And they're like, they've watched Rory grow up, and very sweet.
Yeah. It's really cute. It's really cute. Cat funeral.
Cat funeral.
Not entirely my fault. Chase and Siegel, we love you.
Yes, we do. I will say, listen, I know it's a joke that they're having a wake for a cat, but I've had my dog since I was 19 years old. He's almost 13. He's grown up with both my babies. Like, he's a part of my family. He's my best buddy, and I fully intend to do something to, honor him when his time comes. So I don't think it's silly at all.
I don't think it's silly at all. I really don't. Like when I was, maybe like it's like when I watched this before, I was like, haha, silly cat shit. But then like now, and this is a touchy subject, but like now, like I'm like, no, I would be like, first of all, I would be a disaster. I'd be sobbing.
Yeah, I'm going to have to fully grieve. Like,
or even more. Like, you don't understand. Like, that's my baby. Like, it's truly.
Ranger was my first baby. Like, I got him when he was tiny, and he's been with me for well over a decade.
Moving on. I don't like this conversation.
Anyway, I just had to say, I get that it's a joke, but it's not really funny. I'll probably do it too.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, it's like a New Girl too, when like Ferguson dies and they have
the joke in New Girl though is that they wait 10 years.
The 10-year anniversary.
They ready to grieve.
Oh, like such a hard day. I know, like so good.
Yeah, you think like somebody, like one of the core members died? Did somebody
you're like oh my God,
Yeah.
I know that like a lot of people don't like the last season of New Girl, but I actually loved it.
I actually
I'm
do.
not gonna lie. I really do. Like it feels different for sure, but I like it.
I feel like it, but you are different. Like how 7 years later or whatever they do. Like I feel like that wraps up the show better than other sitcoms where it just ends. Here you 100%. Get to see like where they actually end up, where they go,
Yeah, and also like seeing like Schmidt and Cece,
being
and like
parents
and like Cece. Oh, I got goosebumps. Seeing Cece like go through the struggle of like maybe I'll never be able to have kids and seeing her and Ruth. It's like, oh, it's so cute. I love it. Like it brings it full circle. And that honestly, I think that's the only show I've ever watched that I'm like, this was a good ending.
It ended well. Yes,
Yeah,
I
it
agree
ended
with you.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, and then they're playing True American with their kids,
Yes,
and it's
the
like, you
last
know,
scene with the root beer or whatever.
yeah, it's
So
really
cute.
cute. Yes, and shout out to Zoe Deschanel and Jake Johnson, because that would not have happened. The show was going to end with them kissing in the elevator the season before. You
I
didn't know
did
that?
not know
Oh my God.
that.
Okay, we're going down a New Girl thing, but yeah, no.
Okay,
So
that's okay.
so yeah, the network was going to end it on the season before.
They finally did it. Yeah.
They finally got together, which I hate. I hate, especially with like, it's like couples that break up and then get together and then break up, and I'm like, okay, so
Right.
they're going to break up again. Like, that's the whole, like,
Or
how do we know?
Or even if they don't like break up and get together, like, you've strung me along for 6 years. You're not going to give me a little bit of their relationship.
Like Ross and Rachel. I'm like, okay,
Yes.
cool. So she got off the plane. Now what? You know what I mean? Like, anyway, so yeah, but then like Zoe Deschanel and Jake Johnson fought so hard for the last season, because they were like, we
Good
can't
for them.
end it like this. Like, this, not enough closure.
I agree. And I actually think there's a lot of closure in that last season. It's excellent. Wraps it up so well.
Yeah.
No need for a reunion. They already did it. Here's where they ended up.
Here's where they ended up. Yeah. And they like, I think also because the whole show like was surrounded the loft. Like, that's really what the show was about. So like, them leaving the loft was the best way to end it. But anyway, now that we've given away the entire plot of New Girl,
now that we've spoiled the entirety of the series of New Girl,
the show we're not even talking about, let's get back into Gilmore Girls.
My absolute favorite of all time TV proposals, gives me goosebumps every time.
Which one?
Schmidt and Cece.
Yeah, girl.
He pulls out a $5 bill and he's like, "Girl, will you marry me?" Oh, every time.
So many goosebumps today. Okay, I will say though, that's not my favorite TV proposal.
No,
and I hate it so much, and I don't even want to say it. My favorite TV proposal is Barney and Robin. And you're like, why are you like this?
Don't like the Barney proposal.
I just like how intense it is. Like, I like the bamboozled. Okay, I wouldn't like it in real life.
But she's like in tears, upset for months.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
She's losing her mind. He puts her through so much unnecessary stress.
Yeah, no, that's fair, actually.
All right, sorry.
Anyway,
to the show we're talking about.
You know what? We're going to get back to this show. Okay, so we're seeing everyone walk in, and Lane is asking Rory if she laughed when Babette told her. Rory shakes her head, and then she says, "Did you want to?" And Rory nods, but goes, which I thought was that interaction was super funny. Michelle stops by to drop something off and says, "You're mourning a cat? They lick their privates, these cats." It's very funny.
Which is ironic, considering what happens with Michelle and his pets.
Later. Yeah. Yep. Miss Patty walks in and says, "Darling, what do you need?" and wraps Babette in the biggest hug. Babette says, "A little air." I love Babette and Miss Patty's friendship. I think it's so sweet. It's like the two best friends.
They are just the gossipy older ladies.
Yeah, it's like the two best friends that are like a little slutty, and one of them got married and the other one didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that dynamic.
It's a good dynamic.
Yeah. We then see Suki and Luke walk in with a bunch of food. I love this. Like,
I am Suki. Yeah. I'm always like stressing, over planning, like over preparing, and then somebody just is like, "It's fine," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right.
You're right." Here's the thing about Suki though. I don't think that she's stressed. I think she just lives for it. Like, I genuinely think Suki's just like, "We gotta do this. We gotta blah blah blah," and like that's just her vibe, like all the time. Yeah. Which I think is why she makes such a good mom too.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Suki shouts a very organized and intense plan for the food and beverages. And when she finishes, Luke sets his bag on the table and just says, "Dig in." Just then, Dean knocks on the door. Okay, I should say though, time is passing. Like, we see the sun go down. We see, it was hard to like put that in the notes, but
yeah.
Then Jean knocks on the door of Babette's holding cases of soda. Rory answers. He says he wasn't expecting to see her. He walks by Lorelai, who says, "Do you know him?" Rory says no, and then says, "Well, he goes to my old school, but I go to Chilton now." To which Lorelai replies,
Rory's being so
"Thanks for the update." I kind of get it though.
So weird.
I kind of get it though. I think when you're like a kid, especially like when you have your first crush or like your first
Yeah.
boyfriend or whatever, you're like,
You like
this
feel
is,
embarrassed about it for some reason. Yeah,
yeah, you're
that's
like
true.
embarrassed and you're like, I don't know how to like tell you. I don't know how to, it's like, I don't know. It's weird. It's different.
Yeah, it does feel like when you're young, like especially like early high school, like having a crush on someone is so embarrassing. Like what?
It's so embarrassing. It really is. You're used to it yet. Like, it's kind
Yeah,
of like getting your first period. You're like, oh my God, like,
this is
this
the
is
end
so
of the
embarrassing.
world.
And then by the time you're like 28, like me, you're like, oh my God, I just bled
Telling,
my pants. It's crazy. Like telling like my
listen,
dad. Like,
oh no, I'm fully trying to like normalize periods for everyone around. Like especially like I have daughters, you know, I don't want them to feel weird about it. I talk about my period all the time with
thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Like I think we
I
should.
I got into an argument weirdly on my birthday about this because
Okay.
yeah, we were out to dinner and something came up about periods and I was like, here's the thing, like because people are always like, well, like you don't talk about like everybody goes to the bathroom, but you don't like talk about that. And I'm like, but like
Why not?
well, yeah, but also like going to the bathroom is not the same as something that quite literally affects your mood, affects your like energy levels, affects your like on it like the whole nut. Like I am a different person on the first day
Oh
of my
yeah.
period than I am on the 28th day of my cycle. You know what I
And
mean?
what I have learned is when you communicate that, when you say, like, hey, during this time I'm feeling this way. So if I get a little snappy, like, I'm going to try not to, but if I do, if you could just give me some grace, or you'd be like, hey, I'm
Yeah,
super high energy today. So if we want to, like, knock some stuff out, like,
yeah.
communicating that has been so
Oh,
helpful in my
cycle
relationship.
syncing. Cycle syncing. It's the way to do it, baby.
Yes.
That's like part of the reason I wanted to get on this is fully getting into it. Part of the reason I wanted to get on a non-hormonal IUD is because I was like, I want to cycle sync. I know it sounds crazy, but I do.
Right.
I want to be able to like, I want to like be the person that I am, not the person that I am on drugs that make
Yes.
me crazy. I don't even know
Right.
if controlled is considered a drug, but anyway.
It's hormones, but yeah.
Yeah, hormones that make me crazy. But also like I want to be able to like play into the times of my life that I'm better at other things. And
Yeah.
I never have those peak times if I'm constantly like, editing my hormones,
Right. Right. Makes sense.
Anyway, yeah.
I will say I was on a non-hormonal IUD for 10 years and it worked great for me. And then one day it didn't. Just,
That's super fair.
it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I'd still recommend it. Like it worked great for 10 years. It's definitely worth trying.
Yeah. Well, I'm going strong.
All right.
I will keep the entire world updated.
Also, I feel like talking about periods is different because not everyone experiences it. And if we normalize talking about it, then the people who don't experience it will maybe have a little more sympathy, or not even sympathy, but be able to like understand what's going on more and not just be like being a bitch. Like, like not be that kind of guy where you're like, oh, are you PMSing? Like, no, if you understand what's happening, then you're a little more, well, if you're a good person, you're more understanding,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's super real. I also feel like talking about it more helps me as a person, like be able to recognize it. Because if I'm not allowed to talk about it, then it's like I like gaslight myself into being like, am I just like a mean person? You know what I mean? Like,
but like, if crazy today, am I losing my mind?
Allowed, if I'm like have the space to be like, I'm PMSing, like that's why I feel like this, and just sorry, my bad.
It's okay. Just got to get through the next few days, and things will level out. Yeah.
Exactly. Then it's like I can normalize that for myself as well, and I don't feel so crazy.
I 100% agree.
Anyway,
I would like to step off of my soapbox now.
Yeah, no, that's super real. Dean comes up to Rory and asks if she has a second. She says, no, I have gum, which is very funny.
I could see myself saying something like this if I'm like flustered. Sometimes things come out of my mouth and I'm
Don't
like,
have
what?
a second. I do have gum though. She says she has to get back and he says, okay, see you later, and leaves. As Dean walks out, Rory sees Mr. Medina at the door. She says, Mom? And Lorelai comes up and sees him. She goes, oh no, today's Thursday. Rory asks if she's in trouble and if the school called. Lorelai says no, and she'll explain in a minute. Rory asks to tell her now, and she says, Max is here to pick me up. Rory realizes that they're about to go on a date and feels rightfully blindsided. Lorelai says she'll be right back and goes to talk to Max. She really should have I'm sorry, Max can wait. Max can wait.
Yeah.
She should have done more to
Yes.
Fix this.
Comfort your daughter first, get this under control, and then go deal with that.
What she should have done is been like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm having a Rory thing. And then come back in and talk to Rory. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I feel like any teacher would understand that, you know?
Right. Me and Rory are having a thing. I need to talk to her. Yeah, if he's a good guy, even not being her teacher, he should understand that your kids come first. Yeah.
Exactly. Lorelai says she should have called him sooner, and Max is upset that she's canceling. He's being a little piss baby. Sorry I said piss, Mom, but he's being a little piss baby.
Yeah, he really is.
think it's the only accurate way to describe Max in this situation.
Well, I will say, that's got to be a little frustrating. Like, he drove all the way there, and she's like, I'm sorry I didn't tell you I'm canceling.
Yeah.
I could see being a little like, all right.
That's fair. That's super fair. But he is being a baby about it. He's like, he says he's heartbroken. I'm like, really?
That's very dramatic. This is a first date.
Yeah. She says, I just completely forgot our date. And he says, and I'm forgettable. Lorelai.
He's kind of being a smart ass too, which is like, there's a time and a place. I'm a smart ass, but like, there's a time and a place to be a smart ass and to be understanding.
Well, and you obviously see that like something very serious is going on. Like, and yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
Also, she doesn't owe you an explanation. Something came up. I'm so sorry. Go deal with that. We'll reschedule.
Yeah.
The end.
The end. That should have been a phone call, I will say. But
she should have called him.
Yeah. Anyway, Max asks if Rory's okay, and she says Rory's fine. It's the neighbor's cat. She died, and that it was a very, very fat, very beloved cat. I love how she adds that it was fat.
Because fat cats are the best.
So true. Max tells Lorelai that he likes her and doesn't want to force something on her. He starts walking away. Okay.
Don't?
You sure? Are you sure?
Because you worked really hard to get this date after she told you no.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't believe.
Yeah, because you kind of did.
Yeah. Max starts walking away, and Lorelai says he's not forcing her into anything, and she's telling the truth about the cat. She then asks him to call her so they can reschedule, and he says he'll call and walks away. As he gets in the car to leave, Lorelai says, "Stupid cat, couldn't have held on one more day," which I thought was super funny.
That's funny.
Lorelai, looking for Rory, goes into the kitchen. We then see Kirk, as she walks by, apologize to Miss Patty. He says that the manager says she's one of the best customers and that she can put anything in that mouth she wants to. She says, close your pores, Kirky. I always forgive. Once. Which I thought was very good. One of my favorite Miss Patty lines. Lorelai goes into the kitchen and finds Babette, who's cleaning the medicine cabinet. She asks if there's anything she can help with, and Babette says no, she's just packing away some of Cinnamon's old medicine. Babette says she's going to miss that old broad, and that she doesn't know what she's going to do with herself now. Lorelai is comforting Babette and reminding her that she gave Cinnamon everything she had. I keep getting goosebumps today. My goodness. Like, why am I
right there with you?
Weird. Lorelai starts helping Babette do the dishes. Babette gives Lorelai a stool to sit on and says it's what Maury uses when he helps her in the kitchen.
She love that everything in Babette's house is so small. That's such a funny joke.
Yeah, it's a very funny joke. And that she's so tiny and Maury's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah. So and funny. He just like stoops through every doorway. Everything's so small for Babette.
Yeah. Because he loves her.
I want to love, like, I think I said this last time, but I want a love like Babette and Maury. I hope Ben and I are still like that when we're older.
Yeah, me too. So she says that Maury is just the best thing and she doesn't know what she'd do without him. She starts to get emotional and Lorelai asks, what do you mean without him? She then explains how she saw an episode of Oprah about marriages that fell apart after they lost a child. She says that she never thought a man would want her. Babette, oh my gosh, she's so sad.
Come on, Babette. You're funny.
You're funny, you're pretty.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever go watch an episode of All in the Family to see her when she was young?
I haven't yet.
You gotta.
But also, like, she's like pretty as an older lady too.
Oh,
she's
yeah,
got, like,
absolutely.
That hair and like
she's Yes, I agree. But like I was shocked. I was like, wait, that's the same person? Like she is.
That's wild.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
No, you're fine. Lorelai says she knows the feeling, and Babette says, "Oh, please, with that ass." Lorelai said, "I mean, for more than my ass." So that was super funny. Babette says she'll find him. She then says it might even be that stud that drove out of here in the Mustang. Maury starts playing Cinnamon's song on the piano, and Babette goes to sit with him. Lorelai keeps looking for Rory. She runs into Suki and explains the situation. Suki says she'll understand. You're crazy. She knows that.
I like that line.
I like that line.
I feel like people have said that to my daughter before.
You're crazy.
Fine, she knows you're nuts.
We then see Rory sitting outside and Dean walks up. He apologizes for bothering her and says, I thought maybe you liked me, but I can see that you're not interested.
At least he apologized for being weird.
Yeah. And I'm not going to bother you anymore. She tells him to wait and that she is interested. And then she says, I got to go, and runs away. Okay, I just want to say, I love this scene and I love the smile on Dean's face because it's like,
yeah, it's very
it's
cute.
so like childhood romance where you're like,
puppy love.
I like you.
And then you do nothing and you just like live in that moment for the next day.
And you're like, oh, he said he liked me. She thinks I'm cute. Rory runs into Lorelai, who tells her to sit down because she's going to explain everything right now.
To sit down in this tiny chair while I
I love, like, I just want to say, this is, like, exactly my kind of humor. She's like, that man over there is your teacher.
Why did you say that? Like, I'm telling you right now.
Like, I feel like that's how she says it. She's, like, so flustered, and she's like, that man was your teacher. And then Rory says, Mom, I'm a little behind in school, but not so behind that I don't know who the teacher is. Rory asks when she was planning on telling her about it, the wedding, and Lorelai says no, by the rehearsal dinner at least. Rory explains that he teaches her in a very small classroom with a lot of other kids that probably won't be high-fiving her when they find this out. Lorelai says she knows, and that was one of the things that she said she was concerned about, but Max thought they could be discreet. She says she's mad that Lorelai lied to her, and Lorelai says, I kept information from you. Rory says, I'm not saying you can't date him. It's just weird because there are a million guys in the world, and you end up with Mr. Medina. Why does Rory have like the emotional intelligence of like a 50-year-old woman?
Seriously, that. And I would like to point out earlier in the episode when she was talking to Suki, she was like, I'll tell Rory, and if there's even an ounce of weirdness, I'll cancel. And then proceeds to argue with Rory when Rory says she finds it weird.
So higher.
And she does end up like, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but she does end up being like, I can cancel. I don't have to see him. But she's saying it in a way that's like, say yes or you suck.
Right. Exactly. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Because then it's like, that sucks to do to anyone. But also it's like you're doing that to your kid, where she now has this like guilt.
I have this responsibility now. I'm responsible for if you can be happy or not. And if I'm uncomfortable with it and I say no, you're going to resent me. Like that's the vibe that she's.
And also it's like nobody likes doing that. Again, nobody likes doing that to anyone. No one would ever do that to their mom. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
That's too much that's too much. So Lorelai tells Rory one day she'll get it when she meets some guy who makes her head all foggy and she doesn't know what to do with herself.
And that was the right thing to say, because then Rory went, like Dean.
Like Dean. Exactly. And I think that's the point. I think that they wrote this storyline to be like, you know,
it was parallel for a reason.
Yeah. I love a parallel storyline. Also, though, this is a stupid meme I saw the other day. I also, though, love like a B story that's like insanely like stupid. You know what I mean? Like an episode where it's like, this is the main story. And then the B storyline, which I feel like doesn't happen as much in like a Gilmore Girls show, but like.
No, New Girl does that a lot. Wacky B line.
I was going to say, I literally saw a meme the other day where it was like Schmidt and Nick like trying to get laid and like, this is the storyline. And then it was like Winston and it was some lady like playing the bells. So that was super funny.
Yeah. New Girl that show's nuts. I love it.
It's so nuts. There's literally a Friends B story where Phoebe's just on the phone. That's the whole B story. She's just on the phone with like
on hold, trying to return something or trying to
get her phone fixed because the warranty is about to expire.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Your play is very important to me. Your play is the next play I'm going to see.
The next play.
I love a B storyline. It's so great. But anyway, they're leaving and hug Babette and Maury goodnight. When they walk inside, the phone is ringing. She answers, and it's Emily who says, "I've been trying to get to you all afternoon." Lorelai asks why she didn't leave a message on the machine, and Emily says, "If I wanted to talk to a machine, I'd talk to my VCR." Then asks where she was. Lorelai says she was at a wake, and Emily asks for who. Lorelai starts to say for the neighbor's cat as Rory is shaking her head and telling her not to say it.
Also, if Emily believes that she's at work and that's why she couldn't go to Claudia's funeral, why is she trying to call her and upset that she's not answering?
Yeah. Also, like, and I say this later, like at the end of my notes, but I was like, why was she even calling?
Yeah, there was no information exchanged.
She's like, "I've been trying to reach you all day just to like say hey."
Yeah, I've been trying to reach you all day just to catch you in a lie.
Just to like harass you a little bit.
Yeah, I don't get it. Anyway.
Once Lorelai gets the words out, Emily says, "Hold on, I'm looking up the word aneurysm in our medical dictionary to see if I just had one."
Emily's humor is
top notch.
Excellent.
Top notch.
Pristine.
Like, you gotta see where Lorelai really gets her humor from.
Yeah, which is why it's so funny that Emily gets so annoyed with Lorelai, because it's like, she learned it all from you.
Karma. I feel like in a weird way, like, you know how parents always talk about like, this kid is like my payback for like how I was as a kid. I feel like in a weird way, like the universe, God, whoever is up there is doing that to me through my nannying jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas like a kid will throw a fit and I'm like, "You're not even mine. I don't have to deal with this." But in a way that's like, you know, it's probably like God's like, "I know you're not going to have any kids. So
here's your payback.
Here's your payback."
Yeah,
but I also get all
my payback kid is Harper, who's full of energy and never stops talking. And I'm like, oh my God.
Please.
How did mom make it to my adulthood sane? Like, I love you so much, but shut up.
Please stop talking. Oh yeah, it's good. I remember like when I would come home from like work or cheer or whatever, like in high school, and I would like just be like doing like actual flips in the living room and like talking to mom, like doing handstands and like mid handstand, be like, "So then today this happened and then this happened," and mom's like watching TV, like just like, I like what?
When I was in high school, I was probably like 17. It was like past the point of me having like a curfew, you know, they were just like, don't stay out all night. So I'd come home at like 1 or 2 in the morning, whatever, late, super late. And I'd just go and I'd like plop myself up on mom and dad's bed. And I'd be like, "So tonight I ran into blah, 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 blah. And we went here and we did this." And my mom would be like, "Go to bed."
So we're
talk
very
about it tomorrow. I was like, you don't want me to come in here and let you know that I'm home? And they're like, "No.
You're a grown up. Go to bed." That's so funny. I feel like mom's going to listen to this and then be like, "I did want her to let me."
No, we've talked about this recently. She was like, at that point, I was like, "Send me a text when you get home. So if I'm worried, I can just look at my phone. I know you're home. So you didn't wake me up."
Before the find your friends.
Oh yeah, I didn't even have a smartphone at that point. I had one of those ones that slid. I thought it was so cool because it didn't slide this way; it slid long ways, and it had a full keyboard instead of having to do T.
Yeah, and T9. I haven't heard that term.
I know,
so long.
My first phone didn't even have T9. You had to do the click, 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 click. All right. Well, welcome back, but we didn't go anywhere. For the last 2 minutes of the podcast, here we go.
And here we go. Sometimes that's just like how life happens.
Yep.
So, I don't even know where to start. Okay. So Rory says, so we are just so you know, we are after Emily's call where there was no reason for her to call. She just called to heckle.
Yes. Literally no reason.
For no reason at all whatsoever. So Rory says she shouldn't have told her, and Lorelai says, "I don't know what to tell." Lorelai says, "I don't know what to tell and what to hide." Lorelai says that they never settled on her dating her teacher issue, and Rory says she can go out with whoever she wants. Okay, I feel like they did settle though. Like, am I tripping? Like, I feel like Rory was very clearly like, "I am uncomfortable with that." And then Lorelai's like, we never landed.
She's literally like, "If there's any weirdness, I won't go." And then Rory's actively arguing with her, and she's like, "But you can't really say no."
Yeah. Well, and it's like,
this whole scene is Lorelai being like, "Well, I don't really have to ask your permission. This is a courtesy, so give it to me."
Yeah, it's weird. Like, why I don't know. I don't like.
Why ask if we're gonna ignore her answer?
Well, and I liked how it ended before, where she's like, I do nothing before I ask your permission or before I tell you. I thought that was a cute, like, I was like, okay, like I felt like you wrapped it up pretty nicely, actually, where it was like, she's like, I'm uncomfortable with it, but I appreciate the sentiment of like, you will now ask and tell and be honest before. I also thought her being like, well, I don't know what to hide and what to tell was like kind of petty.
Yeah, it was real stupid. What do you mean?
Like you do.
You know your mother. Like,
I don't know. Anyway, so she says she can go out with whoever she wants. And then Lorelai says, it's what we want. And Rory says, well, I'm certainly not going to go out with him, which I thought was like a great response to that, because what do you mean it's what we want?
I told you what I want and you're not listening.
Yeah, you're not happy with that. So I don't know what to tell you, dog. And Rory asks if she can keep him out really late on Thursday night because she has an oral exam on Friday and she'd love for him to sleep through it. And Lorelai responds, I'll do my best, which is a very sweet way to wrap it up, because Rory's going to her room and she's like ignoring her. And then she's like, if you get to keep him out really late on Thursday, that would be great.
Yeah, it's cute. It's very cute. I don't like everything that led up to it. I don't like that it feels like Lorelai strong-armed her.
Yeah, me neither. And like I said, I liked how it ended before, and it was weird that it was like, so we never really like settled on that. And it's like, yeah, you actually did. We were all there. We saw it happen.
Yeah.
Like, but
we were there.
We were literally there.
Yeah, but she didn't like the answer she got. And in this time in her life, Lorelai is very selfish. And she thought Rory would be like, whatever makes you happy, Mom. And she wasn't.
Right. And also, like I said, Rory, I think, has like the emotional like intelligence of like 10 Lorelais. So
100%.
Yeah. So I think it's like her answer would have been satisfactory to a normal person. Anyway, that wraps up Cinnamon's wake.
All right. That wraps up our cat funeral.
Jason Segel, you have nothing to do with Gilmore Girls, but please be on our show.
We just love you so much. Please be on our show.
Be on our show.
Better to do, right?
Yeah, you could just be on our show and just go, cat funeral.
That's literally it. Just call in, go, cat funeral, and then leave.
It'd be so fun to have like how on Office Ladies they have like other people read their synopsises, like fucking Billy Joe Armstrong for some reason,
because Jenna knows it.
And they're homies, which I love. Let me just say,
how random. What a worlds collide.
How random. And also, like, obviously as like as an emo kid, like I love Green Day, like who doesn't, and so it's like,
as do we all.
So hearing that, I was like, that's very cool. Big fan.
I think the year I graduated, every school I knew of, like class song was either Time of Your Life or Photograph by Nickel.
That's amazing. That's like the most early cousins list of songs. That's so funny. Weirdly, okay, so all of my friends went to Divine, as you know, at the time. Right. And when they graduated, for some reason, which I'm not complaining because it's a good song, but like their class song was that song that's like 15, there's still time for you, time to when you've only got 100 years. We're not making any money off this podcast. Let me just say that. I'm saying so many things.
Never.
Not that we would, but like.
Right.
I sang like,
I'm sorry, you sing trademark. First of all, I think we're singing it so badly that they won't care. That is a real thing. Like on YouTube and stuff, like if you sing it like off key and like out of rhythm enough that I don't care, like it wasn't getting taken down.
Does this really count? That's so funny. Yeah, no, I think that Billy Joe Armstrong would take one look at our two listeners, Jessica and Aaron, and be like, yeah, they can have it.
A lot of that's automated now. I don't know about Spotify, but YouTube's it's all automated. Like there's true. Like AI that goes through the videos.
Gonna say, why would I assume that Billy Joe himself is like, going through YouTube videos.
Not like a PR person.
The actual Billy Joe Armstrong is going through YouTube videos being like, how much of time of your life did they say? That's for some reason.
And that's 5 seconds.
For some reason, that is so funny to me. Like the idea of
Yeah, now I have a mental image of that in my head.
so good. Also, this is just a side note, but now that we're talking about them, I've been, since the like Grammys and everything, I've been seeing a lot of videos because they did like a, I don't know if you saw it, but like the LA like fire benefit concert.
Oh, yeah.
Billie Eilish came out with them, and I learned that Billy Joe Armstrong is like a fan of Billie Eilish, like a full-on fan. And he found her because
imagine
she was wearing a bandana that said Billy on it because their name is spelled the same. And he's like, oh, that's a really sick bandana. And she saw that he commented, but she thought it was like a fan page of Billy Joe Armstrong. And she was like, so interesting. Funny. And then he was like, no, dude, I want this bandana.
No, where'd you get it?
And now they're like homies, and she always goes out and sings them. Yeah, it's really cool. I love both of them. So big fan.
That's great.
Love the Billies. Anyway,
the Billies.
All the Billies in the world.
All right. Well, what do you say we wrap this one up? Because we've got a long night ahead.
Yeah. You're like, can you please shut up? And no, just kidding.
We can continue this conversation next week
in 5 minutes. Peace out. Oi with the poodles already. And we'll see you in 5 minutes.
See you in 5 minutes.